or right now. Please let me know please.
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this. I don't know if I should call it an August occasion, but then we do not take it for granted that you've been able to connect to us in this live stream from anywhere you are in the world. My name is Omotila Dorcas. I'm the Chief Strategist for Virtual Domain. And with me here also is Mr. Bolaji Atolagbe, a brand strategist. Just so we cut to the chase, we are not going to be spending a whole lot of time on this call. The most important thing for us is to ensure that at the end of the day, that we are able to ascertain that everyone on this call has been helped. We intend to give everyone on this call solutions to whatever existing business problem that they have. And peradventure, we are unable to answer all of our questions. There's always an opportunity to reach out to us at the end of this call, and to also drop your questions, your inquiries, and if you need any consultation sessions, you can always reach out to us at the end of the mastermind. All right, like I said, my name is Omotila Dorcas. I'm a business development strategist. That's all that you need to know about me. I do not intend to go so much into who I am, because we are not here because of me, we're here because of you. So just to go straight to the point, what is business development? I have here that business development is one of the most underrated strategies when it comes to growing your business. A lot of people do not pay attention to it. People are more concerned about drafting out a business plan. They are more concerned about drafting out a plan on how they intend to make the money between the first 6 months, between the first 1 year. Others are concerned about what their profit margin would look like, and what are the solutions that they can begin to produce or they can begin to churn out as an organization. Ultimately, that becomes what they categorize as their own service or as a product that they sell to the market. Many people are mostly concerned about identifying areas of opportunities, but when it comes to strategizing on how they can achieve some of these lofty and high intentions, right, that they desire, not so many people pay attention to it. But the truth is, business development is very, very core to the success of an organization. And having just one right customer can change the game for you. And this is especially true for people who are selling a product or people who provide a service using the B2B sales. And I know that when I say B2B sales, I know that a couple of us would understand what I mean by B2B sales. But even if we do not understand what I mean by B2B sales, I do intend to go into more explanation, right, about what that is all about. But if you're starting out, right, it can be a very, very confusing setup, because there are quite a lot of things that many people are not quite familiar with. A lot of people knows how to make money on a minimal level, but the moment it starts going to a granular settings, it becomes confusing, because there are quite a number of structures, a number of systems that needs to be put in place. There are principles that needs to be worked around. And this oftentimes makes it difficult for people to understand. So the concept called business development, what is it about? Business development, from what I put here, is the process of developing growth opportunities, right? And relationships with other organizations. In other sense, it's the process of finding or searching for growth opportunities, right, within the market or within the industry that you find yourself. It could also be that you're trying to look inward within your sector or within the location that you find yourself. And when I mean location, I'm not talking about the geographical location. I'm talking about that sector or that niche, right, where you are practicing or where you are selling or where you are providing a service. Looking inward to look out for relationships that you can leverage on with other organizations that either sell the same service as you do or that sell cross service, not necessarily exactly as yours, right? But who provide services or who sell products that are similar to what you sell, or that are things that your audience or the people that you sell to that they would need. So you're looking at people like that that you could, foster a kind of relationship with that would ultimately have impact on your revenue or in the sales that comes into your organization. Please, I would love to have our feedback in the chat bot, right, in the chat section, so that I can know if we can follow, if you are following me, and if we understood what I just said. So if you understood everything I just explained right now, please let me have a thumbs up in the chat section. That would be my way of following up with us to know if the communication is one, right? So let me see in the chat box. Let me see a thumbs up if you understood what I just explained now to be what the business development is all about. It is finding growth opportunities. It is leveraging on relationships within the sector that you play with an organization that either sells the same product, right, or that provide the same service as you are, or that provide cross services that are not exactly like you provide, but is similar to it, or with people who sell to the same type of audience that you also sell to. So I would love to know if what I just said now, if it resonates with you, or if you understand in the chat box. Another thing I would want to talk about is relationships. So when you talk about business development strategy, you're talking about looking at ways to leverage on relationships with people who are already there, right? Looking inward and also finding out if there are organizations that you can, connect with to be able to foster some sort of business engagement or business relationship with them. So majorly on this call, I'm just going to be talking about two major types of business development strategy, right? I'm going to be talking about the product business development and also the distribution product development. I would want to make an example of an organization like Music's Match. And please, I want to know in the chat, do we know Music's Match? I don't want to assume that everybody knows Music's Match. Music's Match, that online streaming platform that allows us to be able to stream online and also have access to lyrics. Are we familiar with Music's Match? Is anyone familiar with Music's Match? I'm not seeing any response. Okay, okay, thank you very much. So Music's Match decided to try out something when they were going to start out. So rather than Music's Match creating an application, right, from the scratch, rather than them investing. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Funsho. Thank you, if you're ma. So what Music Match did when they were going to start out was that rather than creating an application, right, that would look like what. Okay, let me also ask a question. I'm sure we are familiar with Spotify, right? Are we familiar with Spotify? Are we familiar with Google Music, right? Even the apps, iTunes for Apple, right? So rather than Music's Match creating that kind of application that Spotify has, right? Yes, Spotify is a streaming platform. So rather than creating such kind of application for themselves, investing and wasting a lot of money, right, into creating that kind of application from the scratch. What Music's Match did was that they decided to partner with organizations like Spotify, Instagram, the Apple iTunes, and every other online streaming platform that you can find out there. So with this partnership, what they did is that they now created a subscription platform such that for everyone who sign up on Music's Match, provided that you have a membership with Music's Match, either as an Android user or as an iOS user, what they did is that they made it accessible to every type of users to be able to have access to online streaming and online lyrics streaming at the same time. leveraging on the application, right, on the algorithm and everything that these other institutions have. So what you realize is that they didn't have to spend money to begin to build, because as much as it might look like this relationship or this integration between Music's Match and app and an application like Spotify or like Instagram, as much as it might look like it's nothing, right? It's just simple. There are quite a whole lot of engineering that goes into it. I don't know how many of us uses Instagram. You know, most times when you go on Instagram or you go on Snapchat and you want to do a kind of when you want to do your reels, right? You bring up your phone and then you do a capture of yourself. While you do that, you overlay it with a music. You know that there's also a feature beside Instagram, in as in by the left hand side on Instagram or even on your Snapchat, that allows you to be able to automatically caption the music that you are doing. That caption of the lyrics to the song that you are listening to is not done directly by Instagram or directly by Snapchat or even directly by Spotify. That caption that you see of the lyrics that's coming up as the song plays is done by Music Match. So there's this engineering and this partnership that has gone on between them, right? And makes it easy for both parties to be able to increase their customer base. At the same time, they're also able to increase their revenue, especially for their premium subscription. So that is an example of a product business development, right? You know, like I said, business development is when you are looking for a business or a growth opportunity, right? You're looking at how do I expand? How do I expand my customer base? How do we increase our income? How do we increase our revenue? How do we increase our sales? So that kind of partnership is something that an organization that sells maybe a service or a product can take advantage of, right? Another, I don't know, I'm trying not to go theoretical. So I'm trying to do more of practical, right? Bringing up real use cases that we are familiar with. That way to help me to be able to really put perspective into what we are talking about. So please let me know if you could follow what I just said right now, so that I know if I'm going to do a backtrack or if I just go on with what we have here. Like I said, we want to get to the point where we can engage with ourselves and there will be questions and answer. Please, do we follow what I just said right now as regards product business development using the case study of Music Match in collaboration with Spotify, Instagram, Snapchat, and every other live streaming platforms that you know that also allows you to be able to have access to live lyrics, right? And please, I would love to know in the chat, but thank you very much, Vincent. All right, so another type of business development strategy that you could do is the distribution business development. I don't know if many of you are familiar with when Netflix started. So Netflix started with a kind of model that makes DVD plates. I'm sure that there was a time where a number of us on this call used to rent DVD plates, right? You go to a DVD rental station and you pay an amount of money to be able to, rent um, your a movie that you saw being promoted on any of the big screen that you see. You just go and you walk into a cinema station or you go to a rental station and then you rent a movie. So now that kind of model was what Netflix started with when they came in. So what Netflix did was that they decided to reach out to as many movie production agency as possible. So what they did is that they collected all of these DVD plates of these people. And just like Music Match, they also created a subscription platform, right? A business model that is tied around subscription, right? And they created different packages for that model. So now what they did is that rather than individuals going to these movie stations or to these rental stations, Netflix decided to make the access to these DVDs localized. So they were the one distributing the CD plates to people who are on their subscription, and they also own exclusive access to some of the movie, so that in the long run they would have more leverage, as against people who were operating as a rental service. This same model that Netflix started with is what's built, right, and developed into what we see right now, such that Netflix now have different packages for different type of people. And if you are looking for any type of movie, you realize that you might not be able to see them on Prime TV. You might not be able to see them on Hulu, right? You only find them accessible on Netflix. So that kind of model that Netflix operates right now is a distribution type, right, of business development strategy. This is also another type of business development strategy that you can take advantage of. So let's say that we want to put into perspective for us here a product business development approach for somebody who is with us here on this call. So let me see. Let's say that I decided to want to, let's see, someone here is into food processing. So, Omolara, let me ask you, what type of food processing are you involved in? What type of production are you majorly concentrated on, Omolara? If you can hear me, you can type it in the chat. If it's not convenient for you chatting, feel free to unmute yourself and let's talk. So you say that you are into food processing. So what type of food do you process? Lara Johnson, you can unmute yourself. If Lara is not here, what else is here? Let me see. Okay, Musumola, can you hear me?
Yes, ma, I can hear you.
All right, good evening. So what do you do, Musumola?
I produce household chemicals.
Household chemicals, for who and what do they do?
For household. I didn't hear your question very well. You said for who and what?
I said, yes, like for who is your target audience and what do these people use the chemicals for?
Okay, my target is household, mothers, or any grown adults that uses soap or bleach or toilet wash. So they are my target audience.
Okay. Okay. So now I'm trying to put into perspective the two types of business development strategy that we can use on this call. So for somebody like Omolara who produce chemicals that can either be used as a bleach or as soap, right? If Omolara decides to want to use the product business development approach, what Omolara could do is that she could decide to go to any of these major supermarkets, right? That is around our location. You don't even need to look for a lot of them. All you might just need to do is to look out for the biggest in your area. Package your products, and then you go to any of these people with a sample, right? And then you go with a proposal, right? And then if you are unable to get the email, right, or you are unable to get the contact details of any of these people, I believe that some of these malls are quite accessible. It's easy for you to walk up to them and you ask for the manager, and you could decide to begin conversations from that place. The conversation will eventually lead to you bringing a number of your products at a particular time of the month, and at the end of each month, or as the products are being bought, you are going to be called, right, to bring more so that you can populate wherever section in the mall that they will give to you. So that's where you realize that you do not need to invest money again on marketing. You do not need money to hire more marketers to help sell your product on the streets. You do not even need to bother about overhead costs. You do not need to bother about getting a new shop. It is possible for Molara to keep on producing in a manufacturing warehouse, in a manufacturing location, or in a whatever location that she is producing a chemical, and the people that she will use as a selling point, right, or as a point of contact with the people that she's selling with will just be this institution. So basically, even if you are producing and you are marketing your product, Omolara, if you are using the product business development strategy, what you'll be doing is that you'll be telling people, if you want to have access to this product, you can go to this particular kind of location. Now, there is a credibility that it gives to your brand, because your brand is now going to be found in centers, right, or in portals that are already accredited or that are already accepted as the big locations or the big centers where people will readily find anything household. So that is why when it comes to choosing the type of business development approach that you want to use, it is important that whichever organization that you are fostering that partnership with, or that you are considering that relationship with, has to be an organization that has good reputation. Also, they need to be an organization, or they need to be an institution that has similar audience as you have, so that you will not be worrying about where the client, the customers will be coming from when you decide to put your product there, or when you decide to list your service on their website. So in another vein, thank you, Amalara. Let's say you are a service provider. You are not a product producer like Omolara. What you might want to do is that you might look for service providers that are already big out there. They don't necessarily have to be among the top 500, but there are that have gained reputation over time. So what you might want to do is that you could decide to approach these institutions and tell them that, okay, let me take for instance. I remember while I was consulting for a cloud computing agency, and they wanted to push their training institution right to Abuja. So what I did was that we created a strategy for them. So they went on Google. They went on Google and then they decided to research companies that do similar things like they did, but that were not involved in training, or companies that does what they do, but the type of training that they do is not to B2B. These companies only sell to professionals or individuals who are looking to upskill themselves. As a result, they were able to list their training options in the service list of these organizations in Abuja. It became a partnership between them, so that whenever those people get inquiries for trainings in cloud computing that was basically tailored to building team capacity, right, and also team upskilling around that line, then they were then referred to this organization. Then they agree on a commission right or percentage that goes to both parties. So you need to think of those smart ways to increase, your revenue, or that would have a huge impact in helping you sell to as many people as possible. Now, I said that there's a difference between selling B2B sales and just depending or deploying business development strategy. Now, B2B sales, like I said here, means business to business sales, right? And if you consider what B2B sales is, it is basically a sales model where a business sells their product or service to another business. And this typically happens either over the phone, in person, or over an email. There are people who do telesales marketing. Telesales marketing involves you sitting on a call and then prospecting somebody as a potential client, and then introducing your service or introducing what you sell to them. And if you're lucky enough, you close such kind of deals on the call, or you send an email It could start as a cold email, and then you build conversation till you sell to the person. It could even be an in-person engagement, which could be a cold visit, a cold email, or a cold call. There are activities that you do to people who do not know anything about your product or service. So upon that first engagement, they are not aware of what you do. But then, depending on the right approach and the method of engagement or the method of contact with which you use to engage them, will determine the reception that you get and how you build that conversation forward. But we are not going into prospecting or cold calling or cold emails today. We're just talking about B2B sales and business development. Some important things that we need to note about B2B sales is that it is usually more transactional. It is not strategic. So when you are looking at B2B sales, basically the product itself or the service itself that you are selling within the B2B sales does not change, right? But when you are considering business development could change, because when you are engaging with an organization, you might not be trying to foster a relationship with them because you want to sell a particular product. The objective of business development might be that you just want more eyes on your product. Of course, at the end of the day, it will have impact on your sales. But when you are considering the objective of B2B sales, it is to sell something, right? And it's to sell a particular thing. But when you are considering business development strategy, it is not to sell just one particular thing. The object could change. It could be abstract and it could be tangible. In B2B sales, there is that which you have that somebody needs and will decide to buy. And as a result of them buying it, you are able to generate more money. So it is either you have to sell more of the same thing if you're involved in a B2B sales, or you might need to renew the subscription, right? Or you might need to renew a customer, right? Maybe after they have bought something and the person bought, maybe the person bought bleach, right? From Madam Molara, if I'm correct. And after she has used it for 1 month, it's exhausted. She needs to buy another, then she goes back. So sometimes that is how B2B sales can be, right? If you are selling to business, it can even be the same if you are selling to a customer, which you call the B2C. Another thing that could be peculiar to B2B sales or B2C sales is that you sell related products that are similar to the first thing that you sold. For somebody who comes to buy a product like a bleach for toilet, the person can decide to come and say, oh, I need a bleach for tiles, right? Now, because the person is already familiar with you and the type of things that you sell, B2B sales is just a straight line. Unlike business strategy, because when it comes to business strategy, it's all about conceptualization, all about strategizing new ways, right, to open new revenue channel, ways to open new sales channel, different from the one that you might have been familiar with. A person who is selling a product like bleach and chemicals like soap, when he or she wants to decide to use a business strategy, could decide to venture.
You know, you can say, I think they say, see.
I want the person to do market for me.
Okay, when I buy something for you. Now you're saving place for that.
What if you
I don't let it go.
Nah.
Coco.
Can we mute ourselves, please?
You see, you know they bring me down. I think they see. That she be her mother, but every time she go on.
Thank you. All right. This is actually why we sometimes like to mute the room for situations like this. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, when a person who sells to businesses or a person who sells to individual decides to use a business development strategy, it could happen that at the end of the day, the person might decide to either add a new product, right, into the list of products that he or she sells. Or the person might decide to venture into another type of service that might be a bit away from what he or she is known for. Most of the time, when a person veers off away from what he or she started out with to start something new, it could be that that channel has stopped producing or has become rusty, and the person might need to venture into a new line that would help to bring in new people that would then be further introduced to what they have on ground. So most times when you consider business development strategy, it could be that at the end of the day, you could end up going into a new terrain that you are not familiar with, which is why sometimes it makes it really, really difficult and almost impossible for some people to navigate. But at the end of the day, we need to understand that as a business owner, we should have a growth mindset. And having a growth mindset means you also have a growth strategy, which is an example of what the business development strategy is about. I have here that a growth strategy allows companies to expand their business. Growth can be achieved by practices like adding new locations, investing in new customer acquisition, or expanding a product line. So when you want to consider what are the ways that you can decide to then navigate these strategic growth activities that we have out there, I'm only going to mention two, and then I will stop my presentation here while Mr. Bolaji takes over. So I have here that there are two types of growth strategies and strategic approach that we could use. The first one is the strategic growth. Strategic growth involves developing initiatives that will help your business grow long term. An example of strategic growth could be coming up with a new product or developing a new market strategy to target a new audience. Do we understand? Unlike organic growth, that just it grows on its own, it is automatic. This one does not need so much of effort. It grows effortlessly because it's mostly surrounded around commodity products like water, food, clothes. Those ones are they can grow organically by themselves without so much effort. When you're considering strategic growth, right, the initiatives that are carried out within this terrain often requires a significant amount of resources and funding. As a business owner, you would often take an organic approach first in hope that your effort will generate enough capital that will then help you to invest in future strategic growth initiatives. So I want to believe that an organization that has been operating for a space of 2 years, 3 years, of course, it is good that you started out within that period of years and you're making enough profit. You're bringing in enough revenue, right? You're making enough sales and it's okay. But the truth is, if you have a long time goal, right? A long time goal in mind, you need to start thinking of how to double your numbers. You need to start thinking of how to double your market share. How do I increase my market share? How do I increase the number of eyes that is seeing my product and my service monthly? This is when strategic growth comes into play. And then we have internal growth. Internal growth seeks to optimize internal business processes to increase revenue. Similar also to organic growth, because organic growth is like the baseline upon which other types of growth strategy comes in. So similar to organic growth, this strategy relies on companies using their own internal resources. Internal growth strategy is all about using existing resources in the most purposeful way possible. An example of internal growth could be cutting wasteful spending and running a leaner operation by automating some of its functions instead of hiring more employees. This is very, very typical of organizations who are looking to expand. Imagine when the pandemic came and we realized that many organizations, rather than investing and pumping a lot of money into their entire processes, right, to make them keep afloat and to also be able to stay at the cutting edge of competition. What we saw happening was that organizations were downsizing. They were relieving people of their responsibilities. But then something was also being done. At least for a period of years right now, I've been playing within the technological field, right? And there was between 2019 and 2021, I was working with an analytics firm. And over that period of time during that pandemic, there were a lot of organizations that were looking at how to leverage on technologies that will help them to boost their employees' performance, that will help them to be able to monitor performance, that will help them to be able to merge or on-site and then remote work to create an hybrid situation. They were looking at ways to expand the engagement and to be able to reach more people. People start considering Zoom. People start considering GoToMeet, Google Hangout. People start considering Teams. The things that people were not necessarily paying attention to, they began to pay attention to it, and they were investing money into technology to be able to help them create an automated system that will make it easy for them to keep on going and then build and develop as the day goes by. So basically, like I said, these are the approaches that you can decide to take advantage of. And these things are not as expensive as we think they are. There are tools and applications that are out there that a small organization, a medium-sized organization can leverage on. Internal growth can be more challenging, of course, because it forces an organization to look inward, to look at how their processes can be improved and made more efficient rather than focusing on external factors like entering markets to facilitate growth. I know that sometimes some consultants have told certain organizations that, why don't you try to hire more virtual staffs or hire more field marketers to help you, push the word out there about your product. Sometimes that approach might be good, but in most cases, it is not usually the case. It is not usually the case. Deciding on which marketing strategy to do to help you complement your growth strategy is very, very tricky. And if you do not have the right approach to it, it could be very, very detrimental to your business. So I'm going to hand off right now and then hand over to Mr. Bolaji Atolagbe, why it goes on to talk about the marketing approach, right? On how to blend marketing with your growth business development strategy. Mr. Bolaji, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, can you hear me clearly now? Okay, good. So I'll just go ahead. Thank you so much for the breakdown that you've given so far. It's quite explanatory. And one thing I would want you to take away from this session is that there's a mindset you need to have as an owner, and that mindset is going to be useful in growing these processes we are talking about. It's not like we don't know these things, but sometimes when you are doing businesses or when you start growing a business, because you were not taught in a particular way, we tend to work in a place of lack of abundance. So we try to manage what we have. The truth is that we're moving more towards a place of collaboration, of using tools and processes that would springboard us faster than in the past. So once we just need to carefully understand what we are trying to achieve and work towards it with a lot of a smart strategy. So I'll just run through some of these points, and I'll let you know a few hints that is necessary for you to grow. Marketing is very critical. When I say very, I mean very critical. So there's a difference between marketing and sales. Marketing is the process of getting people to know that you exist. There are some people today, as we are speaking, that are willing to pay for your product or your service right now, but they don't know you exist. they are not sure where to meet you. And that's the truth. There are some people that are willing to pay double the price you're asking for now, as we are speaking, but they just don't know you exist. And that's why marketing is critical, because that's how you increase more eyes on your business. The more you can effectively let people know that you exist and you provide excellent business, the better for you. Some of these people might not buy immediately. Some of them might not even buy at all, right? But once they know that you are there, when they are ready, or when they know someone that is ready, they will easily reach out. And one of the first things I tell people, 21st century is a very unique time. You have access to people directly using social media. There's something called inbound marketing. And I want everybody on this call, if you don't take anything away from this call, take this away. Inbound marketing is important. Get people to know you, get them to like you, get them to trust you. Provide information to them. Your social media should be full of information. For example, someone said that she's into food processing. How do you process it? What do you process? So people want to know the back end of these things. Some people want to know, okay, what's the hygiene of your process or your product? Is it good enough for consumption? People don't want to buy because they are scared of dysentery, they are scared of whatever disease might come. If you provide enough content, okay, this is how we process. We ensure that our staff wear gloves, they cover their heads with proper protective gear. Anybody that is sick can't touch any of your foodstuff. Your foodstuff is handled with care and attention. Trust me, before you know it, you're getting orders left, right, and center. So inbound marketing is very important. Everybody should try to do that using your social media. We can always break that down to you whenever you have our one-on-one sessions. But you could even Google inbound marketing. It's great. Just take your time and learn. Second is that you need to understand what search engine optimization is. Google is everybody's best friend, and everybody in the 21st century has a smartphone. I would say majority, if not everybody, but majority have a smartphone. And most times when they have a challenge, the first thing they do is search on Google. How can I solve this? What can I do? And if you optimize your business, you will show up as one of the first or the top searches. And the truth is that people don't go beyond page 2 of Google search most times. So that means if you don't come up early, they would use your competitor. So if you know how to do search engine optimization, if you don't know how to do it, you can learn. If you can't learn, you can pay someone to do it. It's very important. I was in a meeting yesterday, and some of the people that joined that meeting said they just found out about the organization just by searching on Google. They searched top XYZ, top business in this. And that came up and they were there. And the summit or the whatever they were paying for was what millions of naira. And they paid for it just because that organization came up at the top search. So it's very, very critical. And you can now localize it. You don't have to do for the whole country. If you are based in Ibadan, focus on Ibadan. If you are based in Shagamu, you can focus on Shagamu. If your business is around Lagos State, you can focus on Lagos State. That's very critical for that. Then leveraging influencers. We are in a time and season of influencers. And I always say it's quality over quantity. Don't say because Mr. Macaroni has 1 million followers that you go and pay for him to influence your product. Does he have the target audience? Are those the people you are looking to get? If your target audience are business-minded people, they might not have time for comedy and content like that. You need to know, okay, maybe I'll follow someone that is a business-minded person. Maybe a Vusi Tembikoa from South Africa. Maybe it's one of the business coaches in Nigeria. And you need to know that it's quality over quantity when it comes to using influencers, but it works. A conversation I had today, someone was making, I think, was it 8 million naira per month? Or was it 8 million or 6 million? And she paid for one of the popular Instagram influencers to post her ad. And she moved from 6 million to 16 million in a month. So that's one of the strategies we are talking about. You don't have to break the bank or start scratching your head of what to do. Knowing the critical people or the things to connect, you can just grow astronomically. We don't need to keep staying in one location. We need to just keep looking around and finding different ways to achieve that goal. Then a lead magnet is very important. Again, this also falls to you knowing your business and your customer. What do they want? What can you give them for free that you can capture their information? What can you provide as a value that they would not even think about it twice. Is it an emailing list? Is it a free PDF? Is it a phone call? Is it a visit to the office? Is it a 30 minutes consultation? Is it, just know what that lead magnet is and use it. You might have to do trial and error at first. You test one, you test another, you see how it goes. When how people connect is how you would know what next to do. That is very critical. So the other thing is that when you're doing a lead magnet, also provide value. Don't do a lead magnet because you just feel like, oh, let me hide some things and give them small. No, give them value. They will come back. That's the truth. People always want to go to people that are valuable. And if they know that, oh, you can provide this much information now. So imagine if I join your team. They would always. So we should not order our information. We should not order ourselves. We should be able to provide critical value. But yes, we should not put everything out there. But enough to, this is why it's called a magnet, enough to drag them in. Once you provide enough value, they will come back. Then Facebook is not dead. I need you to know that. Facebook is not dead. There are people that make millions of naira off Facebook alone. But all you have to do is that you have to know how to manage it. The ad scheme is a little tricky. And that's why I tell people that whenever you're looking to run ads, always run it with the mindset of collecting people's information to ensure you reach out to them later. It can be their email address, it can be their WhatsApp number, it can be their telephone number. These things are, and if because you're providing value, they will give it to you. And these are your database that you would use when you're growing. A friend of mine in a group I'm in, his business was demolished. The whole structure, the shop that was demolished. And the landlord did not tell them beforehand. And it was devastating. But the good thing in that is that he has the phone number of every single customer that has bought from him. So to their new address that they are moving to, he's calling them and sending them messages. We've moved from this place to this place. Meaning that he will not lose his customers. So when you're running ads, you can use retargeting and also collect people's data, right? These are very critical stuff. And we talked about, and Omotola was talking critically about business development. This is critical. Business development strategy is very critical. And we would be able to hold your hand through that process. No matter how complex your business is, or no matter how simple it is, or no matter how you feel that you are stuck, there is room for growth. Coca-Cola is one of the most profitable companies in the world, and yet they still market every single day. WhatsApp and Facebook are the top used app in the world, and they still market. If you check on YouTube, they're marketing on YouTube. Google is a competitor to Facebook because they are trying to get people's attention span, both of them. But that doesn't stop Facebook from running ads on YouTube. To understand how marketing is very important. They do not care if they are competitors, but they know that some of their target audience are on this platform. So they will go there and run advertisements. So those are the beautiful things that we should be looking at, that how can we leverage, is it free collaboration? Is it with running adverts? Is it with marketing? Is it with our value proposition? And that's where we come in as your business development strategist to hold your hand through that process. And I'll allow Omotola to explain the last part before we go into your questions and answer of what we have to offer as virtual domain on business strategy. Thank you, Omotola.
Thank you so very much for that. It was quite insightful. I want to believe that we are following us. So after this session, we'll go into the question and answer section. And I saw in the form that a number of us have some questions that were very, very strong, right? Most of the questions that were asked were actually what determined the conversation that we're having today, to be candid, because I had to look for a way to frame everything around it. So like Bolaji said, you need a business development strategist for your business. And when he told me about Access Fund and the fact that we have a couple of business owners that could use our help, I was like, okay, Virtual Domain, which is an organization that I work in, is a business development agency. that has been in operation since 2019. And over the years, we've been able to work with over 500 organizations and have trained over 2,000 professionals along the line of marketing and sales engagement, helping them to be able to expand their sales and revenue channels, to optimize their processes, and also to be able to train their existing team to help them, optimize their results, optimize their processes, and help them to begin to get more results. So by this 10th of September, we have a training that is coming up, more like a workshop actually, that is solutions driven. The idea is to bring together a few number of people, especially senior managers, sole proprietors, entrepreneurs, executives, senior sales and marketing executives, bring them together in a closed door, right, in a boardroom where we have them bringing their existing business problem or concern, and then we are able to look into each of this into each of this organization, bring up their problems, dissect it, and then look for solutions to help them to solve it. The idea is to create a channel, right, or to create a process that they can learn in that workshop and they can take back to the organization that will ultimately help them to, increase their revenue, increase their market share, and also help them to have consistent results when it comes to sales generation. So the workshop is coming up on the 10th of September, and the cost for that workshop is 100,000 naira. But based on what Bolaji told me, we have a package, right, that has been made available for people strictly from the business owner, strictly from this group, right? I will communicate the package when we have done that completely with Bolaji, but be sure that we are looking at providing between a 15% to 20% discount for people from Access Fund group. But I need to, I'm still working with the team so that we can finalize what the discount will look like. If we are able to get 10 people from the group, right, the idea is to, if you have 10 people, is to give that 20% thereabout discount for every of the people that will be registering, and it's a 6 hours brainstorm session. At the end of the 6-hour brainstorm session, there will also be an opportunity to have an exclusive group for the participants in that workshop for a period of 1 week. Right after we have had that 6-hour session, there's also going to be an opportunity to be in a closed executive group on Telegram, right? Where we would have 1 week to ourselves to be able to do like a build up or a follow up based on what was taught. So that's basically what the business development and strategy workshop is about. And candid, there is more to where all of what we have heard today right now is coming from. And I don't want to dwell too much on that because the idea is that we want to create a system that can help you, right? So right now, I'm going to be opening up the room for questions and answer. So right now we can unmute ourselves and we can answer our questions, ask our questions. We have the next 15 minutes, seeing that we didn't start the workshop, the mastermind at the exact time that we wanted to. So we have between now and 6:15 to be able to engage with ourselves, ask whatever questions that we want to ask. Please kindly drop your location, the type of business that you do, right? And what is your expectation, right? At the end of this masterclass, kindly drop it in the chat if you want to do that. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask your questions. You can unmute yourself. So we are in that section where we can talk with ourselves and engage with ourselves one-on-one. Of course, the recording of this session will be made available to us, so we need not worry about having access to the recording of this class. All right, do we have any question before we end the masterclass? Any question? You can unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. Rookie,
Good
can
evening,
everybody hear me?
Rookie.
Yeah, so
Yes, I
the
can hear
question I
you.
have is not really part of what you talked about, we talked about here, but it's a challenge I've been facing recently, so I thought it wise to bring it up here. So
Okay.
I started using WhatsApp Business not quite long, or I would say I started leveraging on WhatsApp Business not quite long, the catalog part of it. So lately I realized that most of the when I put on my products there, some of them they red flag some of my products, and it's really a problem to me because most of the time there are products that I really want people to see, my customers, my viewers to see when they come to visit my catalog, but I cannot put up most of my products. So I don't know if there's a way I can bypass that. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Can
can hear
anyone
you.
hear me? Okay, so one thing we need to know about red flags on any platform um, is because there are quite a number of things that these platforms have set up in their policy, right, as what is approved and what is not, right? And sometimes it could be because you used a particular type of word or you made a particular type of you made some sort of promise or claims about what your product could do in the description, right? Or you use a particular type of image, right, that they find to be offensive to some people. And as a result of that, because the idea of some of this platform is to make it easy for people to, congregate, to interact, to create a kind of user's experience that is, comfortable for everybody across board. Do you understand? So if you do not pay attention, right, to some of these things, it could actually make whatever it is that you're uploading to be red flagged. So take for instance, there was a time one of my people wanted to create a promotional on Facebook for a lady that sells thrift. She just sells, underwears. So she used an image of, just the underwear without a mannequin. And that was the only image that she used. And then we uploaded it on Facebook. Did you know that Facebook banned that it banned that ad from being run because they said it was violating a particular type of policy that they have already put there. So when you want to use any platform like WhatsApp, it is good that you go to their privacy or to their terms and condition. Right now, top of my head, I cannot say that for sure this is why you were flagged because I've not read through what the content of your description is or what is the type of image that you use to list on your catalog. Sometimes if the quality of your image is also not high enough, it could also affect it not being approved for catalog. So some of these things are what we should pay attention to. Go back to the terms and condition, read what is approved in the community, read what is approved. These things are things that are quite important that many of us think is not necessary. Is it not just WhatsApp? The truth is this same WhatsApp that we are looking at is what some persons are using to bring in millions, to make billions of revenue for themselves. So we need to pay attention to some of these things, terms and conditions, policy and agreements. Some of these things we need to pay attention to them so that in the long run we will not be, caught in the ticket of default. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, she did. Thank you.
Then, in addition to what
You're welcome.
Omotola is saying, one other thing I feel we also should also learn is that platforms have their rules and their restrictions. It's normal. What you have to do is that you can either use that platform as a lead generation to get people's numbers or emails so you can get to them personally. Do you understand? So you might have to eventually create your own websites that won't be flagged, or maybe a social media platform that will not be flagged. So, but you can still use that platform as a lead generation to wherever you're going to. You don't have to abandon it.
Yeah, very true. So you could use them as a lead generation. That's very true. Some people just create a link from their WhatsApp, promote directly on Instagram or on Twitter, on even on Facebook, and use their link as their website link to drive traffic to. So when people click on that link, there's just a message that they drop automatically into their WhatsApp. Some of these strategies are something that we'll also talk about in the workshop that is coming up. What are the different channels that you can use that will not break the bank? That even though it might look like there are a lot, but you realize that the only thing that will cost you is just the first investment that you make. All right, do we have any more questions? I had to mute two of us that were unmuted because of the feedback that was coming on the ground. But if we want to talk, let's do that orderly, and let's try to also keep the sound, I wouldn't want to call it noise at the background so that it does not interrupt with the decorum in the room. All right, do we have any other question here aside from Rookie? We have less than 10 minutes before we end this masterclass. Do we have any other question? I wish I can have the person who asked something about funding. I actually wanted it to be an engagement, an interaction that is live. That's why we didn't create a slide around it in the workshop.
I think he's here. The eminent. You raised a few questions about funding. If you could just express what your thoughts, so we could answer that and maybe close after that. Thank you. You have a challenge with your audio.
Hello.
We can't hear you. Okay, I can hear you. Yes, this is good.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear
The question on funding is this. I know there are variety of channels in raising funds. I'm actually looking at avenues or organizations, particularly angel investors and venture capitalists. I know there are accelerator programs, and I don't want to explore those avenues. I want angel investors, venture capitalists that are already established in funding startups for the last 7 years. In other words, they have track record for funding startups.
Okay. The platform that I have found to be the best, the most verified is Crunchbase. I use Crunchbase also. And you could decide to sign up to the premium subscription for Crunchbase. I would not even talk too much about that. If what you're just looking for is the platform, go to Crunchbase. You'll find venture capitalists, angel investors. You'll find them there. Their contact is there. Their informations are there. The latest investment that they have done. The institutions that has been recently funded by who are the people that are on the board, all of this information you will find. That platform is the most verified right now that we know that you can. And also when you go on Crunchbase and they give you access to some of this information, I'm sure we know that we also should do our own due diligence also, right? So for me, the last time I used Crunchbase, I was trying to raise fund for a senior colleague of mine, a former senior colleague, of course, who runs a transportation technology firm, and they needed to raise 2 billion. So where we could find someone was on Crunchbase. So we decided to look for that person by using other platforms. So I particularly used Crunchbase, and then I went in search for the person on Clubhouse. So Clubhouse is also one platform that I use to search for investors, because people do not even know the power that lies in Clubhouse. People do not even know how to use Clubhouse to their advantage. So Clubhouse is one platform that I also use to be able to help me with verification of who people are, because on Clubhouse, you can hear them talk, you can see what they have done, you can also see the people that they are affiliated with. So most of this time on Clubhouse, you see these people in one room. Investors, angel investors, venture capitalists who are outside of the country, right, looking to fund African business. Or you could also go to Crunchbase. Crunchbase has already done that verification for you. So to have access to more details about these people, you may just need to sign up to this premium subscription plan. So I think that does it. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so
Then
much.
I would also add one more thing. There are many investors, angel investors and VC firms are domain-based, they're industry-based. So you need to understand what your industry is. Where are you looking to play? Mostly, the easiest industries to get into is tech and international business or international retail, which is export and import, because they have more understanding of those places, those domains, than just your average local market. But if your niche is well understood by you, you will always find investors in those niches that are looking to put in their money, because these guys have 30 years, 40 years experience. So they would easily know how to manage your business with you that are starting up. They know the loopholes, they know the challenges. So your niche is always very important. What are you looking to get investment in? Once you can get that clarity, it's easier to point out both local and international investors, because people are willing to invest, but they need to understand your niche. And most people that invest in certain niches have decades of experience in it. So once you can clarify that, it's easier to now know, okay, how can we point out where to make these investors locally or international?
Yeah, and also to add to this, over the period of time, one mistake that I've seen people make is that they've already found out who they want to approach, and you see them wanting to send proposal, and you see them writing a proposal sheet that is close to 6, 5, 7. And to be candid, that's why sometimes we do not even get reply, because the first contact that you are doing is to even get these people to see you, is to get them to notice you and to be able to pay attention to you. So what you should have in a proposal is just like a one-page proposal with your letterhead talking about your designation, your designation, which is either are you the manager, are you the CEO, or your founder, and then the name of your organization, what do you do, where are you located, and then your footnote that has your contact address, right? And then just basic information about what you sell, what kind of service or what kind of product do you produce, who is your target audience, how much have you been able to raise presently, how much are you looking towards, and what is your proposed your target, your expectation from the investor. It is not, most people make this mistake of asking the investors to that the way they would take their interest, or to the way they would be able to say these people are interested, is for them to send them a letter to indicate interest, a letter of interest. You are the one looking for people to invest into your business, and then you are requesting that they should send you a letter of intent to be interested in the product or in the business that you want them to invest in. You won't get results that way. And some people do not even know. I'm sure that if they ask a number of us right now, when you hear that an organization has been able to raise a seed in investment, do you even understand what it means? Do you even understand what it entails? So I wouldn't want us to set out to want to go look for investors. When you have gotten these investors, do you know what to do? Do you know what approach to take? Do you know how to go about it? Please, it is good that you do due diligence, right? With the people that we work with, we try to help them go through some of these protocols. Do you know how to approach an Ernst & Young or a PwC or a KPMG to help you with some financials? Or do you just think you give it to somebody to just prepare a document for you because the person has a good track record of being successful with raising funds. Those things doesn't work that way. Do you have assets outside of the shore of Africa? How do you want to be able to show the security that you have? Peradventure, these people decide to invest in your business. Do you have any security? Do you have somebody that can guarantee you? Do you have a connection with any bank manager that can help you stand as a guarantor? Do you have any corporate account outside the shore of Africa with maybe a Barclays or an HBS bank? You understand? So some of these things are what we really need to understand when it comes to approaching venture capitalists or approaching angel investors to put their money into our account. Because the truth is, the way an American is being engaged is different from how an European or someone who is from UK or someone who is from Germany is being engaged when it comes to investment. And some of these things are what we need to understand. There are some things that we think are not so important, but if we do not pay attention to them, they could affect that process and also affect your results in the long run. I want to believe that we've been able to answer your question.
Let me just chip in one more thing, right? And this to round it up, funding is very interesting, but a lot of back work is done. There is something she mentioned I just want to hammer on when she talked about the engagement. Corporate structure is another factor they look at. You have a board of directors.
Yeah.
Who are those people on your board? What's their industry experience? Are you tenable? Because it's more like, because it's virtual and they are not on ground here and they will not be on ground for most of the time. They need to ensure that their money is safe with you. They want to invest. There is money to invest, but there are some perceptions that you have to provide, which is not a lie, but is a process that you have to go through thoroughly in-house before you can request for seed funding or request for a Series A, request for a Series B. You might not have a lot of profit, but if you can put your books together, you have corporate structure, and you have a solid idea, trust me, there are lots of ways that you can go around these things. So, Masala, please round off. I think we've had a wonderful session.
Yeah. So, like I said, for people who are interested in joining the workshop, you can drop your names or you could reach out to Mr. Bolaji and then he would reach out to me and then we would look at how to create that discount to be made available and then make your coupon available to you. It is 6 hours brainstorm session and you don't even want to know what we have in store. This is just a free session that we have had today, right? I'm telling you, it's really going to be an amazing session with us on the 10th of September. So thank you everyone for joining us on this call. It's been such an amazing time here. Let's have a wonderful evening. My name is Omotala Dukas and myself and my team, Virtual Domain, brought this training to us at Access Fund. Thank you so much, Philippe. Thank you so much. Of course, we'll make the training available. And I can't promise that I will make the slide available, but I'll definitely make the training available to us. Let's have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.